HRN listeners. As we celebrate our 15th year, we are deepening our commitment to giving voice to the next generation of food systems storytellers, and we need your help. Our internship and fellowship programs help activate new possibilities for underrepresented and underestimated young people through experiential journalism, audio engineering, and production training. Through these unique programs, HRN helps food equity stewards build essential workforce readiness skills that expand their potential and foster economic mobility. Please consider supporting these critical programs. And with a minimum donation, you can be entered to win a dinner for two at an amazing restaurant in one of 8 cities and tickets to a concert at a great venue in one of those cities. We have incredible partners across the country who have donated, as they also share our passion for helping to educate the next generation of food systems storytellers. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. And make sure you donate before March 31st. Thank you.
Welcome to Heritage Radio Network on Tour. I'm Kat Johnson, and today we are once again broadcasting from On the Rise 3, the International Symposium on Bread at Johnson & Wales University in Charlotte, North Carolina. Today's coverage is brought to you by Charlotte Scott a Lot and supported in part by the Julia Child Foundation for Gastronomy and the Culinary Arts. Today we have a special guest joining us from South Pittsburg, Tennessee. Welcome to Mark Kelly, the PR and Advertising Manager of Lodge Cast Iron. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. So let's start with, you have a Lodge Cast Iron pan on the table next to you.
Yes, I do.
Tell us about it. Is this one of the newer ones?
This is the new pan that we came out with in the spring. We have a 10-inch skillet. This is the 12-inch skillet. Wirecutter.com rated the skillet as the best one on the American market, so we're pretty excited about that. And we had a 10-inch skillet that we call the chef skillet for many years, and we've upgraded that as well. The primary thing is the sides are sloped, the handle's more ergonomic, and it's a little shallower, not much, but it's very friendly. And of course, these assist handles really changed the dynamics for us when we added those in the late 70s.
Can you talk more about the assist handle, like what it looks like?
Well, it looks like a little pointed rectangle. I forget my geometry, but it helps you put your fingers underneath it and lift it. So if you're not accustomed to lifting 5-10 pounds, it really helps out. And with food in it, obviously, it's a little heavier than that. But any of our skillets that are over 8 inches, it has an assist handle on it, or over 9 inches,
What's kind of like the difference between why you would want an 8 versus a 10-inch skillet?
Just more food cooking capacity. And say with this, you could do 2 small steaks, you could do 4 hamburgers, chicken breasts, that sort of thing. And some people actually make cornbread in a pan that size, in a skillet that size, or pies, or layers of cakes. It's as we all know, cast iron is very, very versatile.
And talk a little bit about how Lodge Cast Iron comes pre-seasoned and why that's important to maybe someone who hasn't cooked a lot with cast iron before.
Well, that's a very compelling story. We started the foundry seasoning in 2002, and we gained a lot of national recognition. At the time, we were named in 2002, a Good Housekeeping provided us a Good Buy award, and that moved us very quickly from being a regional cast iron distributor to a national. And in the years since, we're now an international business. We're sold in 80 countries around the world, and when you're a town of 3,200 people, and you see your cookware in stores in Asia and Europe and Iceland and South and Central America and South Africa, it kind of gets you a little kick in your giddy up. It's wonderful.
So let's talk about that. American made since 1896.
Yes.
So it's been around for a really long time. Obviously, more and more people have been seeing the Lodge brand out there now that you're worldwide. But give us a little bit of the backstory of Lodge.
I have to say, Kat, it's a true American story. Joseph Lodge's family came over from England. He was looking for an opportunity, and at the time, this was in the 1870s, there was a company from England, the Old English Company, and they had several foundries there, and Joseph worked at a couple of those, and he was the supervisor, and he was still running a foundry, and when he started the original foundry, which was the Blacklock foundry, Joseph's family, as I said, is from England, so they were members of the Church of England. The Episcopal Church is the cousin of that, and Blacklock was named after Joseph Blacklock. Joseph Lodge really liked that Episcopal priest, and in 1910 the original foundry burned, and they moved the foundry about a mile south and reincorporated as Lodge Manufacturing Company, and we've been on that site ever since. The thing that is so compelling, we're a family-owned company, and the family's always reinvested in the foundry and the equipment, which is not like a lot of companies, but we've had so many instances through the years where we introduced auto pouring in the 70s, and that helped us compete more on the world market. In 1992 we switched from coke-fired copeless to melt-the-iron to induction furnaces, which not only made it more efficient, but we became a producer of a less amount of hazardous air quality, and now we're a zero hazardous waste stream foundry. So when people think of iron and steel foundries, they think of smoke billowing in the air, and that doesn't happen. In the mid-90s, things progressed well, but we really weren't moving as most companies were offshoring, and our board of directors really said, this is what we're going to do. We were fortunate to have Walmart in the mix of our sales, and then when they started working on the foundry seasoning, it was one of those things where they knew that they needed to do it for a long time, and when they finally did it, the introductory tagline was, "We should have thought of this 100 years ago." but it took a lot. Excuse me. I'm from the South, so home seasoning wasn't that difficult. It's a process, particularly at home. You bake oil on it at 350 degrees, and then you start cooking with it. And a lot of people are asking for instant gratification when they buy a piece of cookware. But with the at that time we called the seasoning Lodge Logic, and Logic was what we called the oil. It's a soybean oil. And on July 1st, 2007, we switched everything to season. At one point, we had half of our items unseasoned, the other half seasoned, and then we had the unseasoned was down to 25 items. And as a rust preventative, we had to dip it in wax. And we weren't doing enough of that, so we stopped doing the wax, the what we call original finish, and we put in another seasoning line. So that's and for the late 20th and early 21st century consumer, having that ability to buy something and take it home and start cooking with it right away really changed the game. It's a cliche, but a game changer. But it really changed the game, and it came about when Food Network and food magazines, particularly Food Network and PBS cooking shows, were at their dominant place, still are, and they are using cast iron cookware. They don't mention Lodge or other manufacturers, but when we started seasoning, cast iron cookware was 4% of the domestic cookware marketplace, and that includes enamel-coated cast iron, and now cast iron category is 15% of the cookware market. So that's a big sea change in just a matter of 17 years.
And what are you hearing from people who maybe get a Lodge as their first ever cast iron piece and they're starting to cook with it? There
are always a lot of questions. A lot of people hear different stories about all the things that can go wrong with cast iron, and obviously we're telling them to relax. It's okay, and we have cooking videos, we have use and care videos on our website, and our customer care department does a really good job of walking people through. The one thing that a lot of people don't realize, even with the information we provide and other cast iron cookware manufacturers, is you don't have to, unless you're deep frying or searing, you don't have to take it up as high. So medium heat, a little lower, that's perfectly fine. So it's, a lot of people ask us if we're sustainable. Yes, but we also, when you cook with Lodge, you're also saving energy. Wow. I mentioned induction furnaces for melting our metal. The only two metals that can be used on induction burners are cast iron and stainless steel. So there have been a lot of things that have come into our play, and I'm a joker a lot of times. I always say, how did those middle-aged metallurgists know that it would be induction ready? And some people get the joke and other people don't. But once people start using it, they really have a fascination with it, and they really connect with how versatile it is. I mean, there are not a lot of skillets and Dutch ovens that you can use on the stovetop and in the oven, on the grill, and take it out camping. And you may not want to bring it in the house to cook with, but you can. And you can do all the, you can use virtually every cooking technique with the exception of very delicate sauces. And how many home cooks do that? But one technique that people are just shocked by is the broiler. Cast iron lives for heat, and you put it under the broiler, and anything you put in there is just going to be magnificent.
And you briefly mentioned cornbread, but let's get a little bit more into that. There is a cornbread festival that takes place every year
in South Pittsburg. It's the National Cornbread Festival, and Lodge hosts the Lodge National Cornbread Cook-Off. Kat, it's not your granny's cornbread. It's different. Contestants need to use a cup of Martha White cornmeal, a Lodge seasoned product, and everything else is left to their creativity. So through the years, we've had some really out-of-the-box recipes. Just my favorite, I'm from the Georgia coast, my favorite one, it was a third-place finisher in 2008. It's crab cake cornbread, and the cornmeal was a medium that held the crab meat together. I grew up, had puree shrimp, and that was what held the crab meat together. But we've had everything from Tex-Mex, Italian, Cajun. It did not look good, but there was a lady that won a few years ago. It was a pot of mixed greens with pureed andouille sausage and a big dollop of whipped cream on the top, and you literally got a hoe cake and scooped it up and ate it. And now it was messy, but darn was it good. And it's become a lot of people's favorite.
And how can people learn more about the Cornbread Festival if they want to experience Lodge cast iron culture in person?
Well, two things. You can go on the website for the National Cornbread Festival, nationalcornbread.com, and there are a lot of beautiful pictures of the community, and then the Lodge cast iron website. We have videos from the cook-off. We Facebook lived the cook-off this year. We had over 40,000 people watching, including some people from Australia. That's a lot of people complain about technology, but to be able to introduce your community and your cook-off to people all over the world is something that nobody's ever been able to do unless they spend a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But the thing that really keeps it all together, this is a tiny town of 3,200 people that has over 1,000 volunteers, and everybody who volunteers, they receive something for their work. The gates, admission gates, their school teachers and parents, they take the tickets, and the local elementary school gets what proceeds from that, and that helps pay for things that the school can't offer, pencils, erasers, and things of that nature. The local football team picks up garbage, and they get money to go to football camp. There's an area called Cornbread Alley. It's a tasting area with 7 different recipes, and people pay an admission fee, and then when they leave, there's a little jar for each group. And they vote by which one they liked, and those people get that money. And it's been really there was one church that lost its roof in a storm. They were able to put a new roof on it. Just any number of organizations, and the festival committee has a reinvestment grant, which is doled out every year, and that's helped to restore an old church that's now a community center. It's restored helped to restore an old movie theater. There was actually a silent film star, Joe Bonner Ralston, who was an Oscar winner. So when the Princess Theater was completed, we had a Joe Bonner Ralston Film Festival. But to see that many people involved in the community, and we have a line, we don't say Cornbread Festival, we'll just say come cornbread time. But also people catch cornbread fever, and a lot of people from the community have moved to other cities, and they'll bring friends to visit, and they get cornbread fever, so they volunteer. But we have a carnival that's a lot of fun for the children. We have face painting. We have all kinds of children's things. We have a lot of music, and we've had some great acts late in the afternoon on Saturday. And the National Cook-Off is held on Saturday, and then there's a 4-H cook-off for 9-year-olds on Sunday, and that's probably the cutest cook-off I've ever seen. You have these little 9-year-old kids toting their skillets up there, and you can tell it's maybe the first or second time they've done this recipe solo. But I've always revered 4-H and FFA, but seeing that's pretty remarkable. But with the National Cornbread Cook-Off, we start taking submissions late in December of every year. We close off the submissions in March. Then we have a team that winnows down the submissions and picks the top 20, and then they prepare those, and then they pick the top 10 to compete, and they have 2 alternates in case somebody can't come. It's a very generous award. The winner wins $5,000, a brown 5-star gas range. Second place is $2,500, and third place is $1,000. And everybody gets a stipend for a hotel, that sort of thing. And we had people from all over the country. The winner this year was from Pasadena, California. She came in second last year, and she came back and she turned it around. And we have a caveat: if you win the cook-off, you can't sign on for the next 5 years, which is only fair to competitors. But we had the highest number of submissions this year. We had like 180 submissions from around the country. And what was really weird, we had 3 contestants from Illinois. But we've had people. Last year's winner was from Baltimore, and she came back and was a judge this year. The first, you can tell with these cook-offs how the presentation pays off. And the first year it really came to fold. There was a lady from Flagstaff, Arizona. She had a Tex-Mex recipe, but she had a margarita. She had the chips and a little sombrero and salsa. And there was the recipe, and so the presentations have gotten quite elaborate. But the recipes are pretty darn good.
You gotta have the cornbread, but you also have to have the swag with the cornbread.
You have to have the swag, and it's we've changed the format for the National Cook-Off. And last year we switched. It used to be a heat of 5 people and a break for an hour, then a heat of another 5 people. In 2018, we switched it to an Iron Chef start with every 15 minutes with the clocks. And that really has enhanced the interaction with the audience. We have 2 MCs. We have one MC working the crowd, just asking questions, and then we have a visiting chef that comes and is able to talk culinary bits and pieces. And it really added a lot of entertainment value. And then we had a head-to-head cook-off between 2 restaurants in Chattanooga with the executive chef and the sous chef. And our art department did just an amazing job. They made a poster that looked like it was like a wrestling match or something.
Oh, cool.
And who will win?
Yeah.
And they'd already competed in several cook-offs in the past, so there was a lot of trash talking on the stage, which made it a lot of fun. And then we had Carl Worley as a judge this year, and he did from Biscuit Love in Nashville, Tennessee, and he did a cooking demonstration. If you're ever in Nashville, and again, it's like the cornbread of the cook-off. These ain't your granny's biscuits. These are on another level altogether. And he started out with a food truck. Yeah. And now he's got 3 brick and mortars in Nashville, and we provided a lot of cookware for him when he started. But we were talking last night at dinner about all the things in the culinary community, and that's one of the things that's my jam, is seeing people work hard and make something good, and then a lot of them, they really don't change who they are. They're successful with their business, and they care for their employees, and that's what makes my job a lot of fun, working with people like that.
And so, speaking of Carl and providing him cookware for his restaurant, can you talk a little bit more about how Lodge works with chefs around the South and around the country to have these partnerships and help support them?
Well, a variety of ways. We'll provide cookware for recipe testing and also cookbooks. We sell it at essentially at just half off with plus shipping. We have a whole division in our sales department that calls on restaurants and institutions specifically, but through our relationship with Southern Foodways Alliance and International Association of Culinary Professionals, but sometimes I cheat on that. But anyway, so we've spread the word in a lot of areas, and that we weren't in the past, and we have these mini servers that we created. Came out in 2008. We've added pieces to it, but they're little serving pieces, different shapes. And then in 2014, we bought the rights to a process where they're highly rust resistant. So you can put them in the dish if it's foods stuck on. You can put them in the dishwasher. You still have to maintain the seasoning, but it's really changed the game for us. And it's a very simple process. Well, it's difficult in the manufacturing, but essentially the process removes the top layer of oxygen, and when water hits iron, it oxidizes, and we put nitrogen in there, and that stops the oxidation. So it was funny. Our vice president of manufacturing, we had a Dutch oven. He left it outside for 3 years while we were still thinking about never rusted. Now the seasoning was off, but it didn't rust. So we knew it would be a good thing. It's much like blue steel, that sort of thing, where it doesn't rust. But we had some restaurant-oriented. We were the ones that developed the fajita griddle way back in the day. We have some other items, and that business was doing well. But once we started these mini servers, it just took off. It's not just in the States; it's all over the world. They really connect with it, it's an untold story. Sometimes I wish I would go back and be a journalist. Other countries truly revere American manufacturing, and particularly in Asia, they like American manufacturing. They like family businesses, and they love the South. When I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, maybe the South, people didn't really think about the South in a nice way, but now it's the ultimate cool. So we have distributors coming in from China and Taiwan and Japan and South Korea. And because of those relationships, particularly South Korea and Japan, we've been able to come out with some new items for them, and we introduce it to the American market, and everybody digs on it. So it's cool. That's
awesome. I love that it's a small family business in a really small town, but with this massive global reach.
It's like I was saying earlier, I get chill bumps when I think about it. Years ago, we got a call the week before Christmas in a museum in Paris where they wanted some of these mini server pieces. They had an exhibit on high haute cuisine art, and we were like, okay, we just did it here, but they liked it, and it is very elegant. But when you get so ingrained in the process, you may not think it's all that. But to be asked, to be invited to have your products at a really wonderful museum, forgive me, I've forgotten the name, but that was quite a coup for us.
Yeah, it's amazing. So where can people go to learn more about Lodge and order their own pieces for home?
Well, we have a lot of dealers here in the Charlotte area and all around the country. We're sold in Sur La Table and Williams-Sonoma, Walmart, Target, Amazon, and we have our own website, www.lodgemfg.com. That's where you can learn more about us, and there are a lot of videos on there, and all of our products are on there, both seasoned iron, enamel coated. We have a really excellent line of carbon steel skillets and griddles that people like, but more importantly, you really get a glimpse of who and what we are. You see a lot of the workers, and there's some interviews with them. There's a foundry tour. And if you ever have a chance to get down our way, I would love to take you on a foundry tour. It is any photographer that comes in, whether it's still or film, I have to drag them out of there because particularly when they're pouring the metal into the ladles that go and pour into the sand, pour the auto pour mechanism. But it's smoke and steel and sparks. The foundry term for the sparks are yellow jackets, because when they hit your skin, it kind of still feels like a yellow jacket. But it's probably the coolest place I've ever worked, and particularly with the foundry, because you have all these really talented and dedicated, passionate people, and we just like pumping iron.
Well, we're into it. We want to come to South Pittsburg and see the foundry, and we definitely want to come to the Cornbread Festival.
You will have a hoot, and the people in the festival are so. There are people that come in from all over. A couple years ago, there was a guy in the factory store, and we had a TV crew from California, and they said, "Well, why are you here?" And he said, this couple was from Missouri. He goes, "I told the little woman all I wanted for Christmas was a trip to the lodge at the Cornbread Festival." They had 2 shopping carts full, but there's a Baptist, African American Baptist preacher from Atlanta. Anytime he's going to have a wedding in his church, or somebody gets rededicated, or any number, he'll come up to our store and buy products and take them down there, and he gives them to them. There's a little town outside of Knoxville. A lady does that it used to be just her church. Now it's everybody in the town. Anybody that gets engaged, she gives them some cast iron products from us. So what's better than that?
There's nothing better. Everyone needs one. So
yes.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that tradition. Well, Mark, thanks so much for sitting
Thank
down
you
with
so
us
much
and
for having
talking
me.
about cast iron.
And these are for y'all.
Oh, boy. You're too good to us.
Well, y'all are part of our family, so this is an early Christmas present.
Thank you so much. We will put them to good use.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks again. I'm Kat Johnson for Heritage Radio Network. Thanks once again to Charlotte's Got a Lot and the Julia Child Foundation for making our coverage of the Bread Symposium possible.